Hello, welcome to my channel. The topic I'm talking about today is the script for the remaining 4 months of Ethereum 2025. If you like today's program, please give me a like, subscribe, and share. Today's topic is about what the script for the remaining 4 months of Ethereum will look like. So we can see here that Ethereum has dropped by 8.96% from its new high yesterday to the current low point in this region. The current price of 4,615 has returned to the price of 3 days ago, and the 3-day change is so fast. The FOMO price 3 days ago turned into a panic price 3 days later, which is also a very interesting thing in the investment market. I would like to remind everyone again that if you can't afford such a fluctuation today, which is a 9% or 8% drop in one day, then perhaps you should not invest in cryptocurrency today. You should invest in stocks, stock indexes, and bonds because the cryptocurrency market is 100% not suitable for you. So let's talk about how Ethereum will go in the remaining 4 months. Let's first take a look at what might happen to Ethereum in these 4 months. That's what we want to show you at the beginning. Let's go back to what happened when we broke through the historical high in the last cycle. Yesterday, this Ethereum broke through its historical high point and fell in just a few hours. Let's take a look at the last time such a thing happened in 2021. When Ethereum broke through the key high point of 1,420 in the previous round, what happened to Ethereum? Let's take a look here. Okay, then let's go back to the previous cycle. At the beginning of 2021, Ethereum broke through this cycle for the first time and reached a high point in 2018. It is basically the same as the current situation because the Ether recently broke the bull market peak in 2021 for the first time. So let's take a look at what happened at that time when the first pin went up here, that is, when the Ether broke the historical peak. The increase of the Ether corrected by 28.33% in just 3 days, if we use for 942, which is the historical high we reached yesterday. A 28.33% pullback would probably take us to around 3,536. So you can say that if this trend is the same as the previous round of Ethereum hitting the historical high, then this 3-day 28% drop will take us to around 3,500 Ethereum. Do you have any way to imagine? This fell from 49.42 to 35.36 in 3 days, which is the true correction. Today's small 9% correction is already unbearable for many people. I am actually very worried about this situation because if everyone cannot withstand an 8-9 correction today, the market is very likely to bring you a 28-30 correction to test your belief in taking coins. In addition, everyone needs to pay attention to one thing. When the first breakthrough occurred, it fell by 28% in 3 days. And the same thing happened after the second breakthrough. At that time, the second breakthrough here was also in a very short period of time, falling by 17% in 2 days. If you calculate based on a 2-day drop of 17%, you can also say that Ethereum will fall from yesterday's position of 4,940 to over 3,500 and then rise again after 3,500. Go up, you may come across 500, after 500 there will be another 18% correction, and within 2 days it will fall to 4,000 again. That's the trend of Ethereum breaking through its historical high in the previous cycle, but what I hope everyone can pay attention to is what happened next. After Ethereum officially broke through its previous cycle high, it experienced a significant increase. At that time, it rose by 40% in just 20 days. But after the 40% increase, it returned to over 1,400, the high point of the previous cycle, and finally attracted a real increase. However, I hope that what everyone is paying attention to is that in just 71 days, in about 2 months, it rose by 212, which is a little more than 3 times. If we want to draw the same gourd, what would happen if the same thing happened in this cycle? If this cycle had the same trend, it would be very scary because yesterday's September 4th movement had to see a 28% pullback first. So you can also say that the trend of this Ethereum will go directly from the 494th to over 3,500. We will experience another rebound, reaching a level of over 5,000 and then continuing down. We will experience a 18% pullback to around 4,000 before finally rising. In just 70 days, we will see a 212% increase. Based on this historical high of over 4900, the 212% increase will take us to around 15,000 and 16,000 grams of Ethereum. This is what happened in just 4 months after Ethereum reached a new high. So it is very likely that the same trend will occur when we break through the historical high position in this cycle. When Ethereum broke through to over 4,900 yesterday, I was actually eating brunch, but I also recorded a short video on the spot because I wanted to remind everyone that they must have a healthy cash position to face the uncertain trend ahead, because no one in the market knows what will happen next. When I recorded that video yesterday, Ethereum was at a high point of around 4,940. I hope that my audience friends can always hold a certain percentage of healthy cash positions in their hands. In the face of market uncertainty and market downturns, we have ways to utilize them, take advantages, and obtain more assets at a cheaper price during these coin downturns. As for whether the market will follow a similar trend to the previous cycle in the end, it is worth paying attention to. If it follows a similar trend, there will be a pullback, rebound, and then pullback, and finally rise to the level of 15,000 to 16,000 in just over 70 days. The above is the technical analysis content, which talks about where Ethereum will take us if it shows the same trend as the previous breakthrough. I don't think this cyclical callback will be as big as the previous one, with a 3-day drop of 28, followed by a 2-day drop of 18% after rebounding, and finally a 70-day rise. I think the fluctuation of this 200% cycle will be smaller. And I think it would be very good if the Ethereum could reach around 10,000 by the end of this year. As for how this detail goes, I think the percentage of retracement may be relatively small, and the percentage of rebound may also be relatively small. Overall, this fluctuation will be relatively small. So in the last 70 days, the probability of a 200% increase may not be too high. Before the end of the year, the TIBOT can reach the level of 8,000 to 1000. I think this is a very good state. Today, in the market, we do not want this crazy rise to continue without a correction. There will be a rebound at any time, which is definitely healthy news for the long-term development of the market. Therefore, in the past 2 days, seeing the market rebound and a small correction, I think it is a good phenomenon overall. Therefore, everyone should continue to hold and patiently have a balanced investment portfolio, a healthy cash position, DCA, in the market when there is a chance, waiting for the moment when it truly skyrockets. Okay, let's start looking at the sequential codes. The first sequential code you can see is yesterday's liquidation chart. Yesterday, Ethereum surged to over 4,940 and then experienced another wave of correction. This market has indeed been in a very miserable state, with long funds reaching 459 meters points being liquidated yesterday. Today, 326 meters of long funds were liquidated. In just 2 days, nearly $900 million of long funds were liquidated. Yesterday, another 168-meter short-selling fund was also liquidated, because yesterday when Ethereum was pulled up very quickly, all the short positions were washed away. After washing away the greedy positions of leveraged long positions in the past 2 days, the market was able to experience a real increase. Today, if you have to go leveraged long every time to trade and break through, the market will not have a real breakthrough, because no one will let you easily make money in the market. If you always want to leverage long or short your positions today, they will definitely be gathered by smart funds such as VC investment banks. So don't be too naive and think that you can play in the trading market better than VC investment banks. Here, I would like to remind everyone again that it's okay for you to go long and it's okay for you to play short term. However, if you want to leverage and go long during this breakthrough to do trading, you may end up becoming one of the $900 million that went bankrupt. What I want to talk about next is the ETB related to cryptocurrency, which caused a 1.4 B point outflow last week. It feels very scary. The title is Selling Off Using Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Selling Crazily. Is that really the case? Let's take a look at how he said that the ETP of this cryptocurrency has experienced the largest weekly outflow since March, this amount up to 1.43 bills. Amid investor sentiment is coming polarized, and the investor atmosphere has become very polarized. Whenever there is polarization, it is actually a good thing to see more news. The outflow of 1.43 billion was after the inflow of 4.3 billion in the first 2 weeks. This is the key point. In the first 2 weeks, the market saw an inflow of 4.3 billion and an outflow of a third after the inflow of 4.3 billion. The title of 1.43 billion is particularly sensational, but in fact this is a normal state. After today's surge, there will be some pullbacks, which is a very healthy state. Another thing worth discussing below is that we can see that the liquidity of Bitcoin have been sucked away by Ethereum. So how do we say that we can see these spot ETFs and ETPs for Bitcoin from August to now? After experiencing an outflow of 1.05 billion, Ethereum also saw an inflow of 2.5 billion. This once again shows that VC investment bank smart funds have gradually shifted their focus from Bitcoin to Ethereum for the past 8 months. I have been repeatedly telling everyone that the whole process of Ethereum falling from 4,000 to 1,300 is full of strange things. If you can understand this smart fund VC today behind the investment banks, what they want to do is that until now you should have received at least a twofold return on Ethereum. In just 8 months, getting a twofold return on Ethereum is like giving you money from the sky. However, many people dare not make a move when Ethereum is at a low level or below 2000, which is like losing money from the sky. This money is all on the ground, and if you bend down to pick it up, many people are unwilling to do so because they may wonder if the money is toxic or if there is anything wrong with it. Since you have these doubts, the opportunity to make money has silently left your side. The next item for everyone to see is that during the harassment, the strategy announced their strong purchase of Bitcoin again, with a purchase amount of up to 357 million. At the same time as the announcement, Bitcoin briefly fell back to just over 111000. It's really scary. This high 7-8 callback is really frightening. When this strategy was harassing, they announced that they had purchased 3,081 Bitcoins, with an equivalent value of 356.9 million. And this time their average purchase price was 115829. Why is this strategy so bad at buying Bitcoin? Every time I buy Bitcoin, it rebounds. Bitcoin fell to 110,000 earlier today. Why did they buy it at 115,000? This strategy definitely doesn't know what they're doing. Of course, this is just a joke. Strategy knows what they are doing. They are looking at very long-term things, not the trend of 1 or 2 days or weeks. They buy even if it is a bit expensive, and even if they encounter a pullback every time they buy. It doesn't really matter because before, when Bitcoin was around 60,000 to 70,000 yuan, everyone laughed to death every time. IG said they bought Bitcoin at 69000, but now Bitcoin has fallen to 64,000 and 63000. However, they are the ultimate winners. And investing in the Bitcoin market over the long term is never wrong. We can see that strategy currently holds a total of 632,457 Bitcoins. With a cumulative expenditure of 46.5 billion, the average purchase price has been raised to 73,527. Apart from strategy buying Bitcoin, is there anyone else buying other coins? Of course there are. The user Ancient Whale, who hasn't used Bitcoin for 7 years, switched some Bitcoin to Ethereum last week. We were still discussing whether he knew anything at the time, but now it seems that he really knew something. The thing worth talking about is that Whale has frozen the profits of his Ethereum holdings. So it's really enjoyable. Going down, you can see more operations of this whale. It holds over 11 percentage points of Bitcoin, making it a very large whale. He rotated some of his funds to Ethereum last week and also received very good returns on it. At present, he has already profited from a portion of his Ethereum position at this high level, earning a profit of $33 million while still holding Ethereum spot worth $108 million, so he is still very optimistic about the long-term development of Ethereum. Because even though he now has a profit of over 11 million, he still chooses to hold spot positions in these Ethereum. Next, I would like to talk to you about Trump's advisor, David Bailey, who said that the bear market of Bitcoin may not come for several years. David Bailey said there won't be a Bitcoin bear market for several years. but analysts aren't so sure. He thinks that Bitcoin may not usher in the so-called bear market in the next few years, but many analysts are not sure about this matter. Many cryptocurrency analysts are questioning what a Trump advisor said. Do you think it is very interesting to hear this? I think it's also very good that these analysts are uncertain because in the investment market, no one knows for sure how the market will go. Everyone is just judging a trend and guessing how the short-term market will go because no one knows the truth behind David Bailey's logic. He said, "This is the first time we have ever seen real institution buying. And it is said that this is the first time in our history that we have seen institutions continue to purchase Bitcoin. This naturally includes banks, upper-level companies, and pension funds, all of which are currently continuing to purchase Bitcoin. Finally, there is also the country, which is also beginning to lay out Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset for their country. With this development approach, he believes that the probability of Bitcoin entering a bear market in the next few years is relatively low. Finally, he said that whether it is banks, pension funds, or these companies, Bitcoin only accounts for 0.01% of these things. So he believes that we are still in a very early stage. Finally, he said, "We are going so much higher, dream big." Here we see that David Bailey is very bullish about the development of Bitcoin in the next few years. He believes that the probability of Bitcoin entering a bear market in the next few years is even very low, and I don't know what everyone thinks. I think whether it can enter a bear market depends on how the market develops. If Bitcoin experiences a crazy surge in the second half of the year or early next year, directly reaching over 200,000 or even 300,000, it is bound to enter a bear market. But if the trend of Bitcoin in the next 6 months or a year is like the trend of the past 2 years, gradually rising, then sideways for 7 or 8 months, and then continuing to rise slowly, we may not really usher in this so-called Bitcoin bear market. In the past, the opening gate of this Bitcoin bear market was a 75-90 correction. I think the probability of such a callback occurring should be relatively low. In the future, even if Bitcoin enters a bear market, I think the maximum possibility of this correction is only 50% minus 60%. And it is unlikely to exceed the 77% of the previous cycle. I don't know what everyone thinks about David Bailey's statement that there will be no Bitcoin bear market in the next few years. Welcome to share your thoughts with me in the comment section below. Next time, I need to talk to my teacher Grayscale. Currently, I am applying to the SEC and want to pass the Avalanche ETF. What about the Avalanche ETF staker symbol, which is called AVAX? When it comes to this, Grayscale constantly promoting ETFs for different altcoins. I think this matter has not been priced yet. We all know that Grace Gold has already promoted the Cardano ADA ETF, XPRP ETF, and DUG ETF. Today, they have also promoted the AVAX ETF and these altcoin ETFs. It is very likely to become the next topic of speculation. And of course, the market is still driven by Ethereum. Therefore, people will not talk about these things in the market driven by Ethereum. But once Ethereum reaches a high point, which may be over 800,10,000 yuan, when these smart funds, bankers, and capitalists start to speculate on altcoins, perhaps many ETFs for altcoins have already been approved by then. By combining these ETFs with the market, we can create a lot of formal sentiment. At that time, if the prices of these altcoins skyrocketed again, it would create a lot of formal chasing sentiment. So I think these altcoin ETFs, although not many people talk about it now, at present, it seems that none of them have been officially approved. But in the next 6 months to a year, I believe this matter will also become a crucial factor for the crazy bull market of altcoins. The signal I made today, along with my teacher Galaxy Digital, Multicoin, and Jump Crypto, is that they are planning to raise twice the amount of funds to purchase Solana as their company's treasure and reserve asset. My first reaction when I saw this news was to shake my head, which is why these companies are so brainless about buying Solana as their company's reserve asset. Of course, this is not to say that I hate what will happen to Solana. I think Solana will do in this bull market. The performance will also be very good. Similarly, if these companies choose to purchase Cardano as their reserve asset, I am not very in favor of it. Whether it is thin or ADA, these coins are already utility tokens that they are meant to use. Therefore, using these coins as the company's reserve asset does not make sense at all. Even if Ethereum is used as a reserve asset today, I think it does not make sense. Therefore, I think Bitcoin is the most reasonable choice for the company to choose a reserve asset today because Bitcoin is a scarce asset. And it is a matter of supply and demand. So now everyone's understanding of Bitcoin is virtual gold. Regarding Ethereum, Thin or Ethereum, they have their own main chain platform, and these coins are used as currency on the platform. I really don't know the logic behind using these currencies as company reserve assets. I believe this matter is also very likely to become the breakthrough point of the next bear market. At the peak of the bull market, it is very likely that these companies will use either Thin or Ethereum as company reserve assets. I believe this is a very scary unexploded bomb. Today, some companies use Ethereum as a reserve asset, which I think is reasonable because the market value of Ethereum has already exceeded 500 billions. Today, more and more companies are adopting Dogecoin as their reserve asset, Hades as their reserve asset, and Solara, which has been disconnected countless times, as their reserve asset. This is completely unreasonable. I don't know what everyone thinks. Perhaps in the short term, seeing these news can make everyone feel very happy and feel that the price of this coin will rise because of these news. But in the long run, for the development of cryptocurrency bonds, is it really a good thing for the entire sector for these companies to adopt the reserve strategy of these altcoins? I don't know what everyone thinks. Welcome to share your thoughts with me in the comment section. That's all for today's show. If you like this program, please give me a like. Subscribe to share and turn on the little bell. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.